Two, one. Hi, I'm Rhonda Masad, and I'm here with Vince Guzzo, owner of Guzzo Theatres. How are you doing this morning?
I'm all right. Yourself?
I'm very good, thank you. Are you COVID and okay over there?
I'm okay. I'm safe. I'm in my office. I mean, I'm careful. I wear my mask when I'm in public. So, it's a different new normality for me.
That's it. Everyone's kind of experiencing the same thing. Do you go out a lot and do groceries?
I'm the one who does the groceries. Yeah, my wife, my wife's a little concerned. So we made a deal. I'll do all of the outside stuff. You do all of the inside stuff. And so it's,
okay. So she's confident that you're doing it well then, because I'm not confident my husband does this so well.
Well, I mean, if there's any junk food to be bought, you have a better shot at getting it when I go do the grocery than when she does. So,
okay.
So the kids are happy that I'm doing it.
Okay, nice. Nicely done. All right, there's a bit of a fun thing going on in the world. Amazon is trying to buy AMC Theatres. How does that impact you? Are they buying you? What's going on?
Well, no, they're not buying me, but they are trying. The rumor is in the industry that they're talking behind the scenes and trying to buy AMC. I think, the positive side of a deal like that for a guy like me is that when I have to argue with either media, financial institutions about the future of movie theaters, when a huge conglomerate like Amazon decides it's going to pay $5, $6, $7 billion to buy brick and mortars, considering it's Amazon, the online king, buying brick and mortars, it sort of sends a message to everybody that, hey, wait up a minute. Is Amazon telling us that it feels that online sales are going to level off and all of a sudden, brick and mortars is going to come back? Is what I've been saying for years that, online is convenient, but it isn't sexy. Sexy is brick and mortars, right? You go out, you experience it, you get dressed. It becomes an experience.
Well, you can't really smooch somebody in a movie theater over the popcorn without actually being in the movie theater.
But that's right. And that's one thing. And then the other problem is, how many people are going to want to remain at home watching Crave, Netflix, or whatever, once we are told that we can finally go back to a socializing normality, let's call it that, right? So I think, look, the last time there was a huge pandemic like this was in 68, 69, which was the Hong Kong flu. And for 10 years after that, once it was over, there was a movie theater boom. Going to the movies had become cool again, right? So it's a cycle. And in a very awkward way, movie theaters are recession-proof. This COVID-19 will create a huge recession for us. It will also, I think it's made people reflect, what we take for granted. Going to the movies.
What we're going to keep when this is over and what we're going to let go.
That's right. Because, the nice thing, a lot of people don't realize going to the movies is probably one of the coolest ways to socialize with 400 other people without having to talk to any of them. Because you're in an auditorium, you're in the dark, you're watching a movie. If some guy gets scared and he screams, you scream. And most people laugh at the same time and some people cry at the same time. So while having a connectivity that you're not alone in the world, there's no real violation of your self-privacy if you don't want to talk to people. So it's beautiful. It's a great experience when it comes to going to the movies.
I equate movie theater with books. I like to, no matter what kind of Kindle I buy or iPad I buy, I want to read my book on the beach in my hands. I'm not interested in. I really don't read on the Kindle.
Yeah, I mean, there's a certain connection. You're right. The funny thing though is that most really amazing books have not always made amazing movies. And the problem with that is, a book, you imagine everything, right? So I always like to say one of the movies that was the most controversial when it came to choosing its lead actor and lead actress was 50 Shades of Grey. Mm-hmm. And I said, well, guys, you get all the women of the world, they're not going to agree on what that guy looks like, what he should be like, and that's what it's all about, imagination. And that's, in fact, one of the explanations. One day I was talking to a huge executive at Warner Brothers, and I was telling him, geez, who made this really bad movie? Like, I forgot what the movie was. And he says to me, you ever read a book? Yeah. Goes, make somebody else read the book. See if you see it the same way, 100%. So a movie is an interpretation of a story, but that you can't contradict because it's like in your face. It's visual, right? The book, you can imagine things, right? So it's always, the parallel's always there. But it's, the thing I always like to say that it's probably the safest form of entertainment, where you can watch it for 2 hours, you leave, and it's just gone.
Yes. And I think I personally prefer to go, like when I want to, I make an event out of going to the movies. It's kind of like,
That's right.
It's not so I enjoy the actual physical getting up, going out, there's a smell, there's something about a movie theater. So will you be able to incorporate social distancing at the theater for us?
Well, one of the things we're going to be able to do is the 50% capacity, right? I mean, we control who we let into the auditoriums. Now, the big debate we've had over the last few weeks with some of the public health authorities is how much policing do we really need to do? In other words, if we have let's say we have let's take a 200-seat auditorium and I only sell 50%. Let's go with the worst case scenario where I do sell out the 50%, right? Well, if we go with the logic that most people go to the movies in pairs, well, then it's logical that we can leave a seat on one side and a seat on the other side of the couple free. But then, somebody said to me, but what if somebody comes and sits next to you? He says, well, I think you're old enough to turn around and say, buddy, with half of the seats available in this theater, you got to come and sit right next to me? There comes a point, I said, look, where I can't be in the dark telling people, excuse me, you're not supposed to be sitting here, right? The other issue then we had is how, sometimes you sit there and you ask yourself some of these, some of the government people, what they're thinking, right? So one of the questions they asked me was, how are you going to be able to make sure that people that are sitting together are from the same household? I go, look, I'm not going to start asking for proof of billing at the same addresses here, guys. Come on. I mean, we got to be reasonable in this. And I think that basically what happened is there was a bit of sense of a panic. And so now by opening it up, we're going to have the Perel stations at the door. We're going to have our employees in visors. We're going to have, we have actually, because it is part of the sanitary issues all the time, washing hand stations for our employees. We're going to try and re-educate consumers. And what I mean by that is, in North America, we've become a bit of a taken for granted kind of people in the sense that we have a popcorn, we have a pop. Once we're finished, even though we're leaving, and on the way going out of the auditorium, we pass 4 garbage cans, we're still going to leave it on the floor because somebody else will pick it up for us, right? So we're going to try and re-educate people and say, look, if you want us to clean these auditoriums properly, and we don't want to put our employees at risk, you should be picking up your own garbage. We'll pick up the scattered popcorn and stuff like that on the floor with the brooms and so forth. But we need to try and re-educate people in being way more civically minded and more civically responsible towards each other. As for, there was then a mention of masks, no masks and whatever. I'm going to leave that up to the government. If they want to impose the mask, I'll just abide by it. We'll probably, have available a few 100,000 masks in our theaters where we can sell them to people for a nominal fee, like $2, $3 maximum. We're not looking to make money off masks for somebody who didn't think about coming with a mask, if that is what the government requires.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
You're going to leave the rules up to the government. I think
Yeah,
there's a lot of common sense. Like, nobody really we all get it. So don't sit next to me. It's kind of pretty obvious.
That's right.
You're sitting next to me. You've been living under a rock for 2.5 months.
That's right.
Yeah. Okay. So with Amazon running their own production studio, streaming service, and now potentially exhibition chain, how will this impact the industry as a whole? I think it's going to solidify it, no?
Well, I think one of the things it's going to do is it's going to, first of all, remove a player from the streaming online platform only. Amazon was also the one that was the most respectful of movie theaters because I think it understood the model. And I think the best way to explain the movie theater model is simple, is, Universal went out and tooted their horn about making $100 million with Trolls over 3 weeks on streaming. So first of all, we have to point out that 80% of the world's population was under confinement. And $100 million for a movie over 3 weeks is not a lot of money. For the world, that is, right? So the best model to compare it to is probably something like Avengers. So Avengers did $2.8 billion worldwide. 60% of that number went to Walt Disney Studios, right? So you're talking about 1.6, 1.7 billion. And so the model always asks people, who would have paid $1.7 billion to Disney to play this movie on streaming? And everybody answers, not me, not me. I'm not paying that kind of money. Nobody's paying it. Then you have to remember that after the $2.8 billion of revenue, the streaming is still there. And so they made another $200-300 million with that movie on the streaming platform. The truth of the matter is, it is a known fact for anybody who's not an ostrich and actually wants to look at the facts properly. A movie that goes theatrically, has the 90-day window, will make more money on streaming versus a movie that goes direct to streaming. Why? Because it's that old concept, right? Direct to video means a crappy movie.
Yeah.
So it's the same thing, direct to streaming, right? Now, the other thing that I think is happening is after so many weeks of confinement, people are realizing that, okay, you know, an apple is an apple. Whether it's a Macintosh, it's still an apple. So streaming is still TV, right? And so a lot of people,
theater.
That's right. So a lot of people are now going back and saying, okay, wait up a minute. It's, you know, Netflix is a TV. Yeah. And this delusional thing that some people like to say, well, you know, everybody's got a home theater. Well, I'm not sure about that. I don't think everybody has air conditioning, and I put air conditioning way before I put a home theater. You understand? So the truth of the matter is that there has been for the last 20 years a marketing tactic, which is you say that that's what people want, and there's an automatic perception that is what they want, but it's not
gaslighting.
True.
It's called gaslighting.
Yeah, it's just you know, you're just like making it up. You know, you asked for it, we gave it to you. I didn't ask for anything. You know, like yeah. So for me, Amazon coming in, like I said, symbolizes a very wealthy player who says, I can respect all of the platforms, all of the various business steps, because you have to remember, Amazon could do exactly like Netflix, become stubborn and say, we don't want to know anything about it. Our movies are going straight to platform, whatever. And they wouldn't have to spend $7 billion, right? So buying, you know, even if they're a very wealthy company, I don't think anybody wants to scratch a check for $7 billion just for the heck of scratching it, right? So there's a symbolism behind that potential purchase, which is, in my opinion, a huge vote of confidence for brick and mortar theaters.
Mm-hmm. Do you see drive-thrus coming back?
So I think right now, so let me give you this one's a little funny because a lot of people, you know, have a hard time believing me. I was working on a drive-in project 3 years ago.
Okay.
In Montreal on the Native Reserve on Kahnawake. Right off the Mercier Bridge, there was 7 million square feet. You know, I had managed to have a friend and a partner for that project because it's on the reserve and so forth. And the problem there was, believe it or not, there are no public work services on the reserve. So in Montreal, there are. You've got this huge boulevard, I think the 132 that goes to Chateauguay. Chateaugay's got septic, is got you know, like water and other, but the Native Reserve doesn't. So if I'm going to have 1,000 cars, I'm going to have a septic tank issue here, right? So the problem stalled, and we're working around it. So like I said, COVID-19 hits, and everybody thinks drive-ins are the new thing of the future. So while I thought a drive-in on the Native Reserve would be amazing because of the proximity to downtown Montreal, drive-ins are not the solution to everything during COVID-19. And the reason why is simple. during April and May, it's 10 degrees outside. You're bored to death. You get into your car, you go to the drive-in, you watch the movie, you're fine. The problem is in the middle of July, when it's 35 degrees outside, you're not staying in your car. It's too hot. You're going to want to go out. So you're going to now do exactly what has been the driving experience for many, many years, which is you get there at about 7:30, 8 o'clock. You tailgate, the first hour. You watch the pre-movie that's the so-so movie. And then you pig out after that. But now you're in your lawn chair outside of your car.
Right.
And so now you have a huge, uncontrolled, in the dark camping ground, technically. And that was the discussion we were having with the government when they said, oh, wait up a minute. You're right. That is a problem. Yeah. Considering, if you remember last year, I believe it was, at the Boucherville drive-in, there was actually a child who got, in an accident, got killed. Yeah, got run over. Because of the fact that, the baby was in a playpen outside of the car and somebody didn't see it, moved their car. And so is it a return to drive-ins? No, it's given a lot of attention to drive-ins. Will drive-ins have a certain fun aspect to it? Yes, but not necessarily during the COVID-19. Maybe we'll, come September again, when if we don't have an Indian summer, maybe we'll start going to drive-ins again. I think, middle of June, July, August is going to be very, very touchy for drive-ins if we're not careful. It may be a place where, they'll get shut down by the police because it's too many people.
Okay. All right, we're going to wind up. What's your favorite thing that you've learned in COVID-19 being paused at home?
So, I turned 50 last year, and to make sure I didn't go through a depression, I threw myself an amazing party, and we raised a lot of money for the Jewish General Hospital. It was funny because one of my friends said to me, so let me understand this. I have to pay to come to your party? Yeah. You gotta buy a ticket. It's like, it's a paid event. And so normally when you turn 50, right, you get through this reflection. Do I slow down? What's this rat rate for? Where am I going with all of this? So I'll tell you, 6 weeks into COVID-19, I woke up one day and I said to myself, okay, it's official. I am not ready for retirement in any way possible. Get me back to work. There's no friggin' way I can do this now. I'll reanalyze this at 60 or 70. But right now, I want to go back to work.
That's where I'm at too. There was that,
right.
You sit there sometimes and go, I'm tired. Yeah, I am so not tired ever again.
Oh, yeah. Look, the first 4 to 5 weeks, I was actually getting up at 8, 9 o'clock. And, I'm feeling, this is pretty cool.
I can do this.
Yeah. After 5 weeks, it's like, okay, no, wait up. Now I'm going crazy. I now wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning without even my phone, without even my alarm ringing, because I got to get up. Like, I can't sleep like this. I can't be lying down all the time. Like, come on.
No, I'm with you. I'm up since 5. It's like noon already. Yeah. Somebody passed the lunch. I got to go.
That's right. So, so retirement's not for me.
That's what you learned. Me either. I think a few of us have learned that. It's like, no. All right. Thank you so much. And we look forward to being back in the theaters real soon. That was Vince Guzzo. You're West Island resident.
No, I live in Terrebonne. I actually have a theater in the first theater that created the ruckus that changed everything was our Sources Theater in the West Island.
Okay, that's what I'm thinking of, right. All right. Have a great day. Enjoy the rest of your COVID non-retirement.
That's right. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.